Why do humans still rely more on intuition than reason? The effects are crucial in using them. Life and experience teach us to observe people's behavior without a word being spoken. If you want to win hearts, you can't do it directly. You have to take a roundabout approach. Being able to read people, to truly see them, can prevent countless problems in life. The secret of human nature lies in deep psychology and behavior. Listeners, if you practice this, 90% of your life's problems will vanish. I'm not exaggerating, it's true. Think about it. Our words come from our mouths and tongues, organs we can control. Yet speech is the hardest thing to master. This philosophy I'm sharing can lead you to peace in life. As a wise person once said, it's the key to tranquility. Let me give you an example. The Buddha taught his disciples to control their speech. Our words are powerful. They can create good or bad. Use them wisely, and they're a blessing. Misuse them, and disaster follows. Our skills with words are like a sharp knife. They may not hurt physically, but they can cut deep into emotions and souls. So many problems in this world stem from what we say. Words are a source of both strength and weakness. Used with wisdom, they lead to success. But used at the wrong time or in the wrong way, they bring only hardship. The Buddha commanded us to be mindful of our speech. Observe yourself. Isn't it true that many of your problems come from your own words? Sometimes we speak without thinking, or someone says something unkind to us, and it ruins our entire day. Let me tell you a story called The Corpseless King. Once, long ago, a king traveled to see a monk at a monastery. This king looked weary, as if he'd suffered for a long time. The monk asked why he was there. The king replied, "Sir, I'm deeply unhappy. I have fortune, fame, wealth, endless resources. But I've never known true happiness. I've felt this way my entire life. How can I find happiness?" The monk smiled gently and said, "I can help you escape this suffering in just a few days, but you must follow my instructions. There are 2 paths." The king eagerly asked about these paths. The monk explained, "For path 1, stay in this monastery alone for 15 days, living simply like an ordinary person. For path 2, sit here for 15 days and speak only when absolutely necessary. Say as little as possible." The desperate king agreed to follow the monk's advice. On the first day at the monastery, the king found it peaceful but boring. He didn't know what to do with himself in all that quiet. At first, the king found it utterly boring. With nothing to do, thousands of thoughts began swirling in his head. He started living in silence, allowing himself to experience this mental chaos. As he observed these thoughts, he realized most were negative. But what was truly remarkable was that these negative thoughts weren't based on anything real. It was all just baseless anxiety. Still, the king had to endure that first night. On the second day, the king began to adjust. He allowed himself to think quietly, reviewing his inner life experiences. That night, he felt a peace he'd never known before. He saw that the thousands of ideas popping up were just fleeting. Here one moment, gone the next. The worries that had plagued him began to fade, revealed as mere illusions. By the third day, listeners, the king felt a calmness he'd never experienced. He started noticing the beauty of nature around him. He began to truly taste his food, to walk just for the sake of walking. He observed the animals going about their lives and wondered, why had he never noticed how beautiful this natural world was before? He discovered something profound, the art of living in the present moment. In just 3 days, the king had found life's most precious treasure. 10 days passed, and the king found a deep inner peace. All his troubles seemed to vanish. He spent time in quiet meditation, barely speaking to anyone. In these silent moments, the king delved into the depths of his soul. By the 15th and final day, the king had discovered true peace. He had connected with his spirit in a profound way. He realized that anxiety, like everything else, comes and goes. Remarkably, in these 15 days, the king hadn't actually done anything to solve his problems. Yet his anxiety had simply disappeared. This story is truly amazing, isn't it? You might wonder how you can apply this to your own life. Well, when you experience anxiety and suffering, sometimes the problems don't actually need solving. Sometimes, like this king, You just need to sit with yourself and allow time to pass. On the last day, the king went to speak with the wise monk who had set him on this path. The king said, "I now understand the source of my anxiety. It all came from my own heart." The monk asked him what he had learned in these 15 days. The king replied, "In the past, I was a king who talked too much. I used words to argue and defeat others, sometimes even to hurt their feelings. In the end, all my talking only brought me misery. I made enemies seeking revenge, and even friends became jealous. I lacked wisdom in living life. Whatever I did, I found only anxiety and problems, and they all came from within me." The monk nodded. "Correct. You've discovered awakening. Now that you know this, use it. Live peacefully, speak kindly, and use words only when necessary. Too much talk will only cause problems." Consider this. 90% of our words in life are negative or harmful at some point. They endanger others, and sometimes even the speaker. If we can control this, 90% of our life's problems will vanish. Spend at least 20 minutes a day in peace and quiet. Return to your inner world, the source of your life force. When you live, speak well and at the right times. If you use this as your life force, you'll find only happiness and peace, and make good friends everywhere. Remember the king at the start of our story? He had wealth, reputation, and position, but no happiness. He was consumed by anxiety. Sometimes, we're no different from that king. Now, let's explore how we can apply this philosophy. I'll give you 7 points to gradually learn and practice. If everyone understood this philosophy, 90% of life's problems would disappear. These 7 lessons will lead you, dear listener, into the silent stage where you'll discover true power. First, in conversation, give others your full attention. Listen more than you talk. This is crucial, no matter how much time has passed. We must learn and practice this because it's easy to forget. Listening is an art that transforms silence into understanding. When we truly listen, we give attention and empathy, creating space for authentic connection. There are 2 types of listening, passive and active. Passive listening is when words go in one ear and out the other. Active listening means fully engaging without interrupting. When someone speaks to you, resist the urge to interrupt or rush them. Practice the art of listening. It's basic, but powerful. You don't need to respond to everything. Sometimes a simple or "oh, I see" is enough. If you don't know what to say, silence is okay. Most importantly, determine whether the other person wants an answer or just needs someone to listen. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give is your time and attention. As we listen, we observe and learn, sharpening our own intelligence. Active listening builds friendship and trust. Sometimes, it's far more valuable than talking. This is the first and most crucial philosophy. The second philosophy is about reflection. Pause before you respond. In any conversation, take a moment of silence to gather your thoughts. This is based on psychology. If someone asks you a question, try being quiet for 2 to 3 seconds before answering. This makes your response seem more thoughtful and considered. Conversely, answering too quickly can make it seem like you weren't really listening. Use this art of pausing before responding to anything. It will make you appear more mature and capable. I understand that reading people's emotions isn't easy, but I have a gift to share with you all. A story from my own experience. Philosophy number 3. When talking, find the beauty of brevity. Don't use more words than necessary. Be concise. Think back to a time when you were listening to someone who kept repeating themselves. They'd say the same thing over and over, just changing a few connecting words. You understood the first time, but they kept going. Have you experienced that? Or perhaps you've done it yourself. This kind of repetition reflects a lack of preparation or professionalism. In public speaking or meetings, good content can be undermined if you keep repeating yourself. It creates unconscious resistance in your audience. That's why it's crucial to speak little and only as necessary. When you say less, it means you've prepared well. If you can discuss important matters concisely, without hesitation or rushing, you'll appear professional and calm. Remember this quote: use words sparingly and only when necessary. Prepare before speaking on important subjects. The more you talk, typically, the less impact you have. Practice distilling your message to its essence to ensure what you say has meaning and impact. I'm trying to follow this advice as I speak to you now, listeners. There's a level of preparation, though I'm not perfect. Sometimes I still make mistakes and ramble, but I try to be aware of it. This philosophy has saved me many times. Now, let's move on to philosophy number 4. This is crucial. When you're angry, don't say anything. Just stay still. When anger strikes, don't act rashly. Don't make decisions, don't reply to messages, don't call anyone. Why? Because when you're angry, your brain stops working normally. You can't resist this. Your brain switches to using the emotional part, or what's called System 1 in the book, Thinking Fast and Slow. You stop thinking step by step and start doing things to release your anger. You make quick decisions because your brain is consuming a lot of energy. Anger is like a machine that uses up all your brain's energy. So be careful, listeners. Anger itself isn't dangerous. It's our response when we're angry that we need to watch out for. Restraint is key. Controlling yourself, not giving in to anger. This isn't weakness. It's strength. Most people can't do it, so it's a display of inner power. Avoid speaking when you're angry, irritable, or impulsive. Embrace the power of self-control. Give yourself time to process your emotions and respond with clarity when you're calm. Remember, when you're angry, don't speak, don't reply to messages, don't answer the phone, don't make decisions. You'll likely regret the results if you do. Now, let's move on to philosophy number 5. When you're hesitating or confused, reflect in silence. If you're worried about something, examine yourself in a quiet state. When you're unsure, the best method is to find a quiet place. Why? Because when you're worried and you talk to lots of people, it often makes you even more stressed. You can't find a way out. But when you sit quietly alone in your room, you feel more comfortable. When you're comfortable, good ideas tend to pop up, and you see the real reasons behind things. The human brain has different types of brain waves: beta, alpha, theta, and delta. In crowded or unfamiliar environments, your brain produces restless waves. When your brain isn't calm, it's hard for good ideas to come. Have you noticed that when you're stressed and obsessing over work, it's hard to think of solutions? But in calm moments, ideas suddenly come to you. Most of the time, we operate on beta waves. These are good for staying awake and doing things that don't require much thought. But when deep thinking is required, these waves aren't helpful. In tranquility, your brain waves change. Meditation or walking in nature can shift your brain waves from beta to alpha to theta. Theta waves are steady and open you up to new ideas. So when you're worried, seek tranquility. The more stable your brain waves, the more ideas and solutions will come to you. This works whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. Philosophy number 6. When talking, find your purpose. Always have a clear intention when you speak, and your life will have fewer problems. Speak with the right intention, with a point. Make sure everything you say aligns with your values and goals. Before any important conversation, ask yourself, what's the purpose? What am I trying to achieve? This is crucial in business. If you try to set up a meeting without a clear purpose, it likely won't happen. Having a purpose makes you seem professional and saves time. The more you talk without purpose, the more likely you are to make mistakes or say things you shouldn't. As Robert Greene said, the more you talk, the more careless your brain becomes. Once words are spoken, you can't take them back. Finally, philosophy number 7. Choose your opinions wisely. Don't voice every thought you have. Always think before speaking. If you don't understand this, you'll only make enemies and lose friends. You don't need to share every opinion, especially if it might not be favorable to others or if the timing isn't right. True wisdom often involves not letting others know all your thoughts. If you must say something, think it through well and choose the right time. This determines your progress in friendships, work, and life. When you have an opinion, first gauge the mood of those around you. If it's not the right time, hold on to it. When it is time, try saying it in a way that considers how the other person will feel hearing it. And here's an important bonus point, number 8. Always tell the truth. When you lie, you have to remember something that never happened, which is almost impossible. But if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Being truthful makes you credible and praiseworthy. Even if telling the truth is difficult, it's another way to show your bravery. Remember, if you understand and apply these philosophies of silence, 90% of your life's problems will instantly disappear. I dare to bet that's the truth.